it.
This is it. Okay. Have you taken it once before?
Yes, I took it last December and then back in April or last April during the national test date.
What'd you get in the math portion?
I got a 22,
Okay.
which is like I think what's like standard.
It's pretty close to average, yeah. Um, I have a bunch of ACT tests from McGraw-Hill. I don't know
Okay.
if you've worked on those already or not. Hopefully not. I have like 10 ACT tests on my computer. So surely we can find some that you have not worked on already.
I haven't worked on any of them.
Okay, well, good. That'll give us plenty of opportunity here. Well, the way I do ACT prep is go through practice tests.
Right.
Okay, let's start with number one.
Okay, if 2x plus 5 equals 17, then x equals 2x plus 5. Yeah, x equals 6, which is B.
Okay, if you get them right, I will just immediately go to the next one.
Okay.
Unless you have questions. If you're not certain you're right, say something, and we can
Okay.
talk about that problem. But I'm going to assume that if you get it right, you know how to do it, and we should go on.
Okay.
Number two.
Is that word horses?
Yeah.
Okay.
Have you seen this question before?
No, I just couldn't read the word.
Okay. I can blow this up a little bit. At least I think I can. Well, maybe I can't. Huh. Whoops. Gosh, I guess that wasn't the thing to do. uh,
It's okay. I can power through. It's all good.
well, I just wanted to get it to a point where you could read it. Now, how do I get rid of this? Let me click on that. Let me go. Sorry.
No, it's okay.
I'll bring back up that first page. And now if I zoom, I can do it. All right, there you go.
Okay.
First statement says all horses that run fast are brown. What's the third statement say?
Horse B runs fast.
So what does that mean about horse B?
That horse B is brown.
That's one of the answers.
Okay.
And that's all you need to know.
Okay.
Okay. That's a logic question. You probably got logic in the first 2 weeks of your geometry class a couple years ago.
Yeah.
What I found with a lot of ACT students like yourself is that you're weak in geometry because, well, I don't mean you're weak, but I mean it's been 2 or 3 years since you've had geometry.
Right.
You're most removed from geometry and logic.
Yeah.
Logic is taught as a part of geometry. This test, incidentally, as you know, is pretty much all algebra and geometry. There's a little bit of trig, but not much. There's 4 trig questions, and that's it. And
Mm-hmm.
they're simple trig questions. What math course? You're taking pre-calc trig now, aren't you?
No, I took pre-calc and trig last year, and then this year I was supposed to take calculus, but it was too overwhelming for me, so I am taking statistics this year.
Okay. All right. So the fact that you've had some trig is going to help because
Okay.
there are precisely 4 trig questions, and you
Okay.
should get all 4 of them. They should be gifts for you. Only because
Okay, that's good.
they're very simple trig. They're not any of the advanced trig that you've already learned. So think of the trig questions as gifts.
Okay.
All right. Now, whoops, hold on a minute. How about number 3?
Interesting. X minus 2 is x plus 5. Would you set these equal to each other?
No. When it says how much greater than, then if I said to you, how much greater is 7 than 3? What would you do?
7 minus 3.
Okay. So how much greater than x minus 2 is x minus 5? Or x plus 5, excuse me. Wouldn't we do exactly the same thing?
Yeah.
Okay. What do you get when you solve that? First, remove the parentheses. You can always remove the first set of parentheses without changing anything. But when you remove the second set of parentheses, it matters whether there's a plus or a minus sign in front of it.
Right.
If there's
So
a
you would
minus
get x
sign, you
plus
have
5.
to distribute that minus sign to both terms. So to remove
Minus
the parentheses from there, what do I have to do?
You would get, or like, what would you get?
Yeah.
You would get a minus x plus a positive 2.
There you go. Now, what's the solution to that?
7.
That's the answer.
Okay.
Okay. Now, these ACT questions that we're looking at here, they tend to start easy and then get medium and then get difficult. Okay?
Okay.
You basically have a minute per question.
Right.
So,
Is it
go ahead. What?
is it an hour for the test?
I believe it is. It might be 75 minutes. I might be a little bit off. But you have close to a minute, and it's something you want to know because when you're taking that test, you have to pace yourself. It's like you're running a marathon. Okay?
Right.
In other words, you have to make sure that you're not going too slow. It's not a big problem if you're going too fast, but it's definitely a big problem if you're going too slow. In other words, let's say that there are 60 questions in 60 minutes. And you reach question 30 and you've already taken up 45 minutes. That's a problem. That's a problem.
Yeah.
You don't want to let that happen because the worst mistake you can make when taking the ACT test is to run out of time before you've looked at the last 10 to 15 questions or any. You always want to make sure you see every question because there's no guarantee that, in other words, you might get to question 60 and it might be a 10-second question. You might know the answer in 10 seconds. Doesn't have to be a hard question.
Right.
So you want to make sure you see every question in the amount of time they give you such that you can answer all of the easy questions. and that you
Okay.
give your attention to most of the medium questions. If you
Okay.
don't, if you don't solve or look at all of the difficult questions, that's not so bad. What
Okay.
mistake you don't want to make is not looking at the easy questions. Okay? So,
Okay.
when I say that, that means that you definitely want to guess at everything. You never want to leave a question
Right.
unanswered. So let's say you're taking the test and you get through 45 questions and you got 2 minutes left and there's 15 questions to answer. We'll use that 2 minutes going through and just randomly guessing on those last 15 questions.
Mhm.
Okay? Because you'll get 1 out of 5 of them right by guessing.
Right.
And so there's no penalty and nothing but potential reward. So really the biggest mistake you can make in taking the ACT is not answering some of the questions. So choose a strategy, whatever it takes, where you make sure you answer everything.
Okay.
Okay? Now, let me give you my own personal strategy. First time I go through a test, I answer everything that looks like easy or medium or anything that I think I can answer. Even if it's going to take me 2 minutes to answer, if I'm pretty sure I can get the correct answer, I go ahead and take that 2 minutes.
Okay.
If I run into a problem that looks like it might take me 2 minutes to answer, but gosh, I'm not even sure if I'm going to have a clue whether that's the correct answer or not, then don't spend 2 minutes on it.
Right.
Put a double check mark by it.
Okay.
Double check mark meaning that's the hardest questions on the test.
Okay.
If you see a question that you think you know how to do it, you're not quite sure, maybe if you spent a minute and a half or 2 minutes, you might get it. Put a single check mark by it and come back to it.
Okay.
And that's the way to progress through the test so that you make sure you see all 60 questions.
Okay.
Now, hopefully, you get through all 60 questions and you have at least 10 minutes left.
Right.
Go back to the single check mark questions. Work on those. Always leaving yourself with an extra minute or so that if you run out of time, you can go and at least guess on the harder questions.
Okay.
That to me is the best strategy you can take going through this test.
Okay.
The
That
thing
sounds good.
is that you want to make sure you spend the majority of your time on the easy and the medium questions.
Right.
You would really score well on this test if you got all easy and all medium questions correct. Even if you got none of the difficult ones correct,
Right.
you would get a good score, okay? So
Okay.
you don't want to spend your whole time doing the difficult questions, especially if it means that you might not even, you might spend 5 minutes on a problem, and if you get it wrong, that's horrible. You've wasted 5 minutes of your time.
Right.
So that's the general strategy that I recommend. All right, let's look at number 4.
I got $30.
Okay. Let's see, I think I got to go to the next page. Hold on. Number 5. And if you could, it's helpful to me to work with you if you kind of tell me your strategy. In other words, don't just give me an answer, tell me how you got it.
Okay. 1 second.
And do you have a calculator in front of you?
No, I can go grab one.
Get one.
Once I
Get one.
read the
Because you're going to have one when you take the test. So make sure
Right.
you set yourself up in the exact conditions you're going to be in when you take this test. Get a piece of paper and a pencil also.
Yeah, I have a piece of paper and pencil.
All right. And only use the calculator that you're going to be allowed to use in the test.
See, can I borrow your calculator then?
Or at least if you're going to use a higher calculator like an Inspire, only do the simple arithmetic that you can do on it. Don't do the exotic stuff.
Why didn't you charge it?
What calculator do you use in class? You must have a TI-84 or an Inspire, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I have like a CAS, like Inspire or something.
All right,
Really.
that's a great calculator. And you can use that for doing this, but I don't think they're going to let you take that into the test and use it.
Yeah, I know, I can't use that.
They provide you with an online calculator, don't they? Or they provide you with something that lets you do just basic arithmetic, things like that. Won't let you like factor a quadratic or anything.
Okay.
Number 5, how do you do number 5?
So I'm pretty sure that the answer is C, and you would do 660 times 0.20,
Okay.
and then the answer that you get for that is 132, and then you subtract 132 from 660.
All right. That's the way most people do it. Let me show you a slight shortcut. What'd you get when you multiplied that? 13?
132.
132. Okay. And then you subtract 132 from 660, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you get 528. Okay. That's a two-step process, right?
Right.
You got to take 20% and then I got to subtract the difference. That's 2 steps. Well, guess what?
Right.
If I take 80% of the original price, I get the answer in 1 step.
Oh.
Notice how taking 80% of the original price is the same as what you did. You took 20% and then subtracted that. Well, 100% minus 20% is 80%. So if I take 80% of the original price, I get the answer in 1 step.
Okay.
Okay?
That's good to know.
And the same thing applies if they say something costs $12 and has a 6% tax. What's the total cost? I'm suspecting the way you would do it is multiply 12 times 0.06 and then add it to 12. What's a one-step process to do this problem? Instead of 2 steps, what would the one-step process be?
Doing the
Multiply 12 by 1.06.
1.06.
That's the same as multiplying it by 0.06 and then adding it to 12. In other words, if I multiply that by 0.06, I get 72 cents. Okay? And then if I add 72 cents to $12, I get $12.72. But it still takes me 2 steps to do it. But what if I multiply 12 by 1.06 immediately? You get the correct answer.
Okay.
Okay?
And it
So
takes less.
this principle where you have discounts or you have, usually addition means taxes. In other words, all of the questions will be, you go to the store, you have an $80 bill, they charge you a 6% tax, what's your total bill? In other words, it's just like real life. That's exactly what happens if you go to the store. You buy something, whatever it's priced at, you pay a whatever tax. 6.5%, 6%, 7%, something like that. And the question is, you can do those in 1 step or 2 steps. Well, if you do it in 1 step, it's going to be a 20-second problem. If you do it in 2 steps, it's going to be a 40-second problem. And this is a test where every second you can save is worth it, because then you can apply those seconds to the harder questions, the questions that require more time.
Okay.
So it's a game of doing these. This is an easy problem, but there's still 2 ways to do it, and one of them takes about half the time of the other. So
Okay.
just remember that whenever you're dealing with discounts or surpluses, surpluses usually come in the form of taxes. You know, no retailer ever says, yeah, I'm selling this for a 20% surplus. That, you never see that ever in real life. You might see a 20% discount, and you might see regular price plus, you know, a 7% tax. But know that those kind of problems you can do in 1 step, not 2.
Okay.
Number 6.
Okay. A squared equals 64 and B squared equals 81. Cannot be the value of A plus B.
The first question you want to answer is, what is A and what is B?
A is 8 and B is 9.
No.
Oh?
And how can you tell? In other words, let's say that this, first of all, is what 90% of the people are going to come up with, okay? But then when you look at the answers, which of the following cannot be the value of A plus B? Only one of those is the correct answer. Well, according to the way you've done it, A plus B is 17. So it looks like there's only one correct answer. That's problematic, right?
Right.
Because there should be 4 correct answers and only 1 incorrect answer. So what have we done wrong? What is A actually? Is it really 8, or is it plus or minus 8?
Oh, plus or minus 8.
Plus or minus, everybody wants to forget that. And B,
Yep, you're right.
B is plus or minus 9. And I mean it. If I had a song I could teach everybody that said, whenever you solve an equation by taking the square root of both sides, begin your answer with the words plus or minus, I would, because 90% of my students forget that plus or minus. Okay? Now, that's the correct answer for A and that's the correct answer for B. Could F be true?
Yes.
How about G?
Yes. Yes.
H?
Yes.
J?
Yes.
K?
No.
That's the correct answer, is K.
Okay.
Now,
Has to remember the plus or minus.
yeah, also notice, and this is pretty common for the ACT test, is that sometimes they will put an answer on there that is so ridiculously bad In other words, notice how wrong K is.
Right.
No matter how you did this problem, there is no way K could be the correct answer, whether you left off the plus or minus or added it. So
Right.
kind of keep that in mind, is that sometimes, especially if you're, if you're out of time and you're guessing, boy, I'm guessing K. If I don't know anything about this problem, I'm guessing K.
Okay.
Okay? All right, let's do one more here. This is perhaps one of the most important principles in taking the ACT test, is two parallel lines and a transversal.
Okay.
AC is parallel to DG, and either of these lines are transversals, but they're clearly talking about the right side, because that's the only information they give us. So what's the measure of this angle that has the question mark? And let me point something else out here. You can spend a lot of time reading their paragraph and trying to understand it and interpret it, and that's fine. Sometimes you have to, but in geometry problems, very typically, the figure will give you everything you need to know. It tells you
Okay.
that's 40 and it asks what this is. What is this angle right here?
Uh, I think I want to say it's 140.
That's correct. Let's review that principle, only because there's nothing more important in geometry than this. Okay? When I have two parallel lines and a transversal, I create 8 angles.
Right.
I'm going to number them. But what I really do is only create 2 angles. In other words, 1's equal to 4. In other words, the 2 angles I create, one of them is acute and one of them is obtuse.
Okay.
And look at all 8 angles, and all of the obtuse angles are the same, all of the acute angles are the same. So 7's equal to 2 because they're both acute.
Okay.
5 is equal to 4 because they're both obtuse.
Okay.
And the only other thing you need to remember is that the acute plus the obtuse adds to 180.
Okay.
Magic number in geometry is 180, right?
Right.
Okay, so if you look at this picture and ignore the transversal that is EB, just ignore it.
Okay.
All of their problems that they give you are going to have two parallel lines and a transversal, but they will throw in all these other lines to confuse you.
Right.
Well, erase EB from your mind, and this angle is acute, this angle is obtuse. They have to be supplementary. They have to add to 180. Therefore, your 140 was correct.
Okay.
Okay? And that's all you really have to know. When you take geometry class, they teach you that 3 and 6 are alternate interior angles. So are 5 and 4, and therefore they're equal. And you have alternate exterior angles, 1 and 8. And they give you all of this terminology which just uses you. The important thing to know when you have two transversals and or two parallel lines and a transversal is that all of the obtuse angles are equal, all of the acute angles are equal.
Okay.
Now, if they wanted to really make it difficult for you, they might do that. In which case I can't see whether there's any obtuse or acute angles. They all look like 90-degree angles to me. but one might be 91 degrees and the other might be 89 degrees, and that would make the problem tougher. But they don't ever do that. I've never seen a problem on the ACT that was like that. Whenever you have a problem on the ACT that involves parallel lines and transversals, one of the transversals is always at an angle, such that you can always define the obtuse and the acute angles. Obtuse, acute, and then just all of the acute angles are equal to one another, all the obtuses are equal to one another, and the obtuse plus the acute, that's a linear pair, that's equal to 180.
Okay.
That's all you have to really know to solve parallel lines and transversals. And there will probably be 4 to 6 questions on the test involving this principle. So there is nothing that is probably more important to you in succeeding on this test than understanding this principle.
Okay.
Okay? All right. I will let you go. I've actually gone over a few minutes, which I apologize for. But that's good progress. And if you want to schedule some more sessions between now and next Saturday.
Yeah, I have one Wednesday and Friday with you.
Okay. I kind of remember that. Yeah. And that's what we'll do, is just keep going through practice tests. And
okay, perfect.
Whenever I
Thank
see
you so much.
You're welcome. I will talk to you next week, Skylar.
All right, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.